I'm Jordan Hatfield, and this is Faster Film Critic. Grab your swords and sandals, because we're going back to Ridley Scott's 2000 epic Gladiator with Kolter Bethurham and Chase Fugel. Gladiator stars Russell Crowe, Joaquin Phoenix, and Connie Nielsen. Get in, we're going cinephiling.
Strength and honor. Strength and honor. Sorry. Apologize.
What is your level of stoke for Gladiator 2?
Level of stoke out of 10, I'd say 5. I'm going safe in the middle. I don't want to be too disappointed, but I am hoping it's a good movie.
I always hope things are going to be good, right? I think we all do. The first trailer was trash. It was not a good trailer. Ridley Scott hasn't exactly been batting 100 these days, so the second trailer was a little bit better than the first trailer, but man, I don't know.
I'm having a really difficult time keeping my expectations in check on this film. When the trailer was first released, when it was announced, I was indifferent. I was like, Gladiator 2, of course, like what took them so long? But
sure.
Next, like I just wasn't that interested.
Yeah.
But as things have gone on and I've start to hear more and more about the film, I've become really excited about it. Now, Of course, I'm a lover of cinema and I'm excited about going to see just about any movie in the theater. But, you know, Ridley Scott comes out and he says this is the best film he's ever directed, which for me was a big red flag. I was like, uh-oh, that made me nervous.
Oh, God.
But then more and more reviews started to come in. You know, I've read critics say that I can't believe Ridley Scott pulled this off. Like this film is incredible. I'm starting to hear some Oscar buzz. Yep. Largely around Denzel Washington's character, which I'm really, really stoked about.
Yeah.
Everything negative I'm hearing about the film has more to do with historical inaccuracies, which is totally fine. I'm not going to see a documentary here.
Right.
Dude, I'm getting excited about it. I'm really excited to see it.
That's good. I, too, have also heard decent things from people that have seen it. Nobody I know personally, obviously, but it's getting some decent buzz.
What did you guys think of Napoleon?
Yeah, you know, I thought the production value in Napoleon was fantastic.
Sure.
I mean, it was just huge. I expect that in Gladiator too. I mean, come on, it's Ridley Scott.
Yeah.
We know that the production is going to be massive. It's going to be impressive.
Yeah, exactly. Always is. And he's been talented at depicting historical pieces. He's been talented at depicting things that occur in the future. That's definitely always been a strong suit. It's some of the other things.
In regards to Napoleon, I felt like the whole was less than the sum of its parts.
Yeah.
There were many pieces of Napoleon, 15, 20-minute sections that were fantastic.
Sure.
But when you stack them all next to each other and watch it start to finish, I don't know. I know the original shoot was over 4 hours. Yeah, how much of that they cut out, subtracted from the movie experience? I don't know, man. I'd love to see the whole cut. I'd watch it if it was released. In fact, I heard somewhere that it may be released on streaming somewhere. Rumor. Actually, I think that's true. I think it is coming out, a larger cut. So excited to see that. But you're right. I mean, Napoleon wasn't great. He hasn't done a great film in some time. I really liked House of Gucci. That was 2021. I think I liked that film more than most people. The Last Duel, I liked probably less than most people. Martian 2015 was his last real big hit. Yeah. People loved The Martian.
Yeah, that was good.
That was good. Yeah. I thought Body of Lies was great. I really enjoyed Prometheus. I didn't like Alien Covenant as much, but I did enjoy Prometheus. Prometheus was 2012?
I think so.
I mean, Ridley Scott is still a director that draws me in. If he's going to release a movie, I'm going to go see it. I'm going to go see it opening weekend in theaters.
Yeah.
As far as Gladiator 2 is concerned, it's a sequel, which means it's an uphill battle.
Right.
But this particular film is interesting in that the vast majority of the main characters in the first film aren't returning.
Right.
So there's kind of a whole new cast of characters. It feels more like it's less of a sequel and more of a film that exists in the same universe. I mean, there are some... Lucius is coming back. Connie Nielsen's reprising her role as Lucilia. So there are some people coming back, and of course the main story will be centered on them. Right. But, I mean... Maximus is gone, and
I know, man. Yeah,
Commodus is gone.
I mean, without
Marcus Aurelius is gone. I mean, these were the central figures in Gladiator.
They were. Proximo, man. I think you could argue that Oliver Reed, who plays Proximo in the first Gladiator, he really steals the scenes that he's in. And there's something about this movie being called Gladiator 2 that kind of cheapens it. I mean, the title itself is a little cheesy. I mean, it's like something you'd see in Redbox or something.
Yeah.
I think the nice thing about this is that there's 24 years of separation between the last Gladiator and this new one coming out. Some movies kind of burn themselves in history in a really unique way, like this one did. It's got a great score by Hans Zimmer. Does anybody know if Hans Zimmer's doing the score for this one?
Harry Gregson Williams is doing the score for Gladiator 2.
Okay. Can you guys have seen anybody else playing the role of Maximus other than Russell Crowe?
Well, I know the role was offered to Mel Gibson.
Yeah, and Antonio Banderas.
And he turned it down.
And Tom Cruise. They were all considered for this role. Tom Cruise, I just couldn't see in that.
Can you imagine?
Yeah. Antonio, maybe. It's the character's supposed to be a Spaniard after all. And Spaniards can look, I realize that Spaniards can look much different than maybe people thought they looked like 40 years ago. There's something about Russell Crowe's performance in this that kind of harkens back to like old Kirk Douglas roles. And, played the part with a lot of silence and reflection. And a lot was kind of portrayed through his character by just silence and facial expressions, and I couldn't imagine anybody else being in this role except him.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I agree with you, and Russell Crowe originally had no interest in it.
Yeah.
He was working on The Insider, and he passed on the script. He was like, yeah, no thanks.
Huh.
And from what I understand, Michael Mann convinced him to take it a little bit more seriously, and he ultimately accepted.
Interesting.
Thank goodness. Yeah, I agree. I think it would be an entirely different movie, most likely an inferior movie if it was someone other than Russell Crowe in this part.
Yeah. And that was kind of about the time, late 90s to early 2000s, when they kind of started to pivot away from like the super muscular dudes who were kicking doors in and all that stuff. And he's obviously athletic, but he's not unrealistically jacked that you kind of don't buy that part of his character. So his physicality had a lot to do with, I think, how well he was in this role too.
Can you imagine Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson in this role?
Oh, that would be horrible.
So, Kolter, I understand that you enjoy The Gladiator from past conversations we had. I don't know how much you enjoy it, but I know you enjoy it.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah, for sure.
Chase, this is the first time you've seen Gladiator.
What?
Yep. Last night.
I know, right? What are your thoughts?
It's been recommended to me more than any other movie. I thought it was a fun movie. I had a fun time. I don't think it's like a super profound, one of my favorite films of all time kind of movie, but it's a simple and compelling story, which is why I think so many people love it so much and recommend it so much. But yeah, I had a good time.
Most people really enjoy this movie. You say it was recommended to you more than just about anything else. But there are some people out there that don't love this movie as much.
Yeah.
Yeah, Roger Ebert didn't like it as much.
Yeah. He crapped all over this thing.
Did? I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
He dropped several hot logs on top of this thing.
Do you remember what he said about it?
Yeah, he basically said he thought that he hated the way that the film looked. He said it looked really super murky. Muddy, yeah. The characters were kind of one-dimensional, and he felt like he didn't identify with the plights of any of the characters, which is kind of absurd. You've got Commodus on one hand, who's kind of like this. He's got these incestuous tendencies. He's a total prick and just he's a punk bitch for half that movie. And
well put.
He only wants power, whereas Maximus, he's kind of motivated by revenge and loyalty. And I think that dichotomy worked so well off each other. Even when Commodus gets killed in the end, that still furthers the plight of Rome because, Rome was a very divided city at that time. It was all kind of about the Caesar before that, Marcus Aurelius, was talking about giving the power back to the people. And it set up this great kind of power dynamic that I thought was pretty captivating from the get-go. Yeah, but he crapped all over the characters, their motivations, the look of the film. He just thought it was like, he thought the effects were really bad, which I watched it last night again. I hadn't seen it in a while. And I thought all that stuff was great. Colosseum looks good. It has a look to it. It has kind of an, orangey color palette for most of it. But yeah, man, he just dropped several hot logs all over this thing when he was talking about it.
Do you guys know Maximus's first name? It's Gluteus.
Oh, is it really? Come on.
Oh man, I gotta slip that dad joke in, man. I've been waiting 20 minutes now to slip that dad joke in.
Waiting this whole time.
I think I'm pretty sensitive to one-dimensional characters, highly critical of that. So often we see the hero being all good and we see the villain being all bad. And I never like to see that in a film, right? I like more complex characters. And I would agree that the characters here are more that direction. They're not very complex. They're more simplified. They're more one-dimensional. But it really worked for me. I didn't have a problem with these characters at any point in time. And I don't quite know why that is, because I do agree they're more one-dimensional, but I absolutely love these characters. I thought Joaquin Phoenix was incredible as Commodus. The way he portrays just his darkness and his selfishness, I mean, it was captured so wonderfully. And speaking of Joaquin Phoenix, he was really, really nervous on the set of this film. In fact, he was so nervous that Russell Crowe and Richard Harris got him like stupid drunk to try and get him to calm down and relax.
That's so funny. No. I could see it too. Joaquin Phoenix, he's such an anxious dude in like interviews and stuff.
Yeah, man, he really is.
He's eccentric for sure, but man, he's such a great actor.
Yeah, he is amazing.
He is. And this was an early role for him, so I could see him being a little, nervous. Yeah. He's working with a bunch of powerhouses too in that.
Yeah, right. But back to characters, Maximus Decimus Meridius is just, I thought he was great.
There it is.
I thought he was absolutely great. So I loved it. I loved this film all the way through. I thought that was great. Sure, there are some aspects of the film that are dated, with the CGI and some of that.
Sure.
And yes, the color palette is more muddy. I can look past all of that very easily.
Yeah, the themes carry through. The character motivations are interesting. I mean, Joaquin Phoenix is neglect exemplified. I mean, there's that great scene between him and his dad early on where not only is he kind of bleeding out in terms of his emotions to having felt like his father didn't love him and was neglected and he could never live up to his expectations, but then you had this really great scene where the father was equally heartbroken, embracing his failure as a father, and doesn't lead to a great place. I mean, Commodus ends up murdering his own father as a result of his father, instead of passing the title on to him as Caesar, he extends it to Maximus. And it's a simple enough premise, but it's set up in a way that's easy to follow, and you understand where both characters are based in their experiences and their emotions, and the rest of the story is simple and straightforward, but it's wonderful. It's got an awesome score and amazing settings and really colorful characters that surround the main characters, and that stuff all works together to...
Yeah, I mean, this film was nominated for 12 Oscars, and to put that in perspective, the most nominations a film has ever received is 14, and there's only 3 films to ever receive 14. Wow. Titanic, All About Eve, and La La Land. This received 12. Now, it only won 5.
Right, only.
It won Best Actor, Russell Crowe, Best Picture, Best Visual Effects, Best Costume Design, Best Sound Mixing.
Also, Best Fight with Shirtless Men, I think, was one of them.
Ooh.
No?
Maybe at that time.
No?
Yeah, I think for that year.
Now I would have to give it to The Northman, the end of The Northman.
right.
But in 2001, okay, I'll give it to you. It's hard to argue that this isn't a great film, regardless of what any critic says. Yeah. As far as the score, Hans Zimmer, an amazing score. By the way, did you know one of the main musical themes in his score was almost used in its entirety in Pirates of the Caribbean? The main Pirates of the Caribbean theme comes right out of this score.
Huh.
That's so weird that you mentioned that. I swear I've heard other, in particular, Hans Zimmer scores used in other movies.
Because he's so good.
Whether it's like and it's just, I don't know if it's just like a motif that gets plucked out of something and kind of used in a different way. But yeah, there are certain scores that you hear without seeing a frame of the film that they're associated with that you go, oh man, that's Gladiator, or that's, E.T., or that's whatever it is. And I think this is one of them, because it'd been a number of years since I'd watched Gladiator, and I always like to watch these things again before we talk about them. And as soon as that score started playing, I was getting up doing something right when it was beginning, and I heard the first few notes, and I thought, oh yeah, of course, that's Gladiator. So,
you bring up Proximo, you bring up Oliver Reed playing Proximo.
Yeah.
I thought this was interesting. He died with 3 weeks left in the shoot.
Yeah. Yeah, the movie's dedicated to him, actually. Yeah.
He had an insurance policy, so this is something that I don't think many people even think about. But if you've got a main role in a movie, the production company will take out an insurance policy on you. And so when he passed, the insurance company was required to pay out all of the reshoots. $25 million to cover all of the reshoots with Oliver Reed.
Wow.
And the crew was exhausted. I mean, they were done filming this massive production.
Sure.
And Ridley Scott, of course, didn't want to remove Oliver Reed's parts. So they brought in a body double, and through CGI, they gave him, they had to rewrite his entire part. I believe that he was supposed to fight Maximus in the Colosseum.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think in the original script, they were supposed to fight.
Okay.
So they had to rewrite it. They had to bring in a body double, recreate his scene, and give him an exit of the film.
That's crazy.
It's crazy, man. You can see that setup for the two of them having to face off earlier in the film. They have some dialogue about, Maximus discovers that Proximo is, which is a great name, man. I can't help but say it that way, was a former gladiator, and that he had been freed by Marcus Aurelius upon achieving victory. And I thought, oh man, that's such a cool, these two guys that basically hated each other. One was just using the other for profit, kind of formed this weird bond that's actually really sweet before Proximo was taken out by the Praetorian guards. Crazy stuff, man. But dude, he's got some great moments in this movie.
Yeah, it does. What's your favorite part of this movie?
Honestly, one of my favorite parts is this exchange between Proximo and Maximus, where Proximo's about ready he's really putting his butt on the line, taking a huge risk to try to get Maximus out of this Colosseum prison so that he can be reunited with his own army and come back and overthrow Commodus. And there's this great exchange where Proximo is about to let Maximus out. There's guards at the gate screaming to be let in. And Maximus says to him, careful, Proximo, you're in danger of becoming a good man. It's just a nice little moment. Yeah. And that dude, Russell Crowe delivers that line with such charm. There's a little smile he gives him at the end, and just such a cool scene, man. It's just, I don't know. It wasn't a huge moment. It wasn't a pivotal moment, but it was these little bits of characterization for me that they're huge payoffs are really satisfying for me to see these kind of little moments. So maybe that's a weird one, but that's mine. What about your guys's?
There's so much in this movie that I love. It would be hard to pick a favorite. A lot of little things in this movie. I mean, there's a scene early on when Maximus is captured and he's taken out into the forest to be killed, and he kind of breaks free and he's fighting the guards that have him captured, and he throws a sword and you just hear it, bam, and then it hits the guy. Just little things like that throughout the whole film I just thought were wonderful. I love the scene when Maximus is talking to Proximo. Again, this is a really small scene, but Proximo is talking about how Marcus Aurelius freed him, and Maximus starts laughing, and he's like, you knew Marcus Aurelius? And just the way he laughs. It's these subtleties throughout the whole film that I really enjoy. Yeah. This is a long movie. I recommend the extended version. Like 170 minutes.
I didn't know there was
somewhere
one.
Thereabout. And it doesn't feel like that to me. The pacing in this movie is absolutely fantastic. To me, this film goes by very fast. It goes by very quick.
Yeah, the pacing is great. I think that's part of the reason it's so many people love it so much. It's because it's so easy to watch.
Lot of really cool moments. There are big ones. I mentioned some very, very small, subtle things, but lots of big moments in this film that are just easy to love.
I love when Maximus he's stuck in the cell and he's about to go back and battle out on the field, and Lucius comes up and talks to him, and he's like, are you the gladiator? Is that you? And they don't know who each other are really. I mean, he knows who Lucius is because he's royalty, but so much that isn't said in that scene, it works so well. It's a powerful scene, actually. That was probably my favorite from the movie.
Interesting. I'm surprised you would say that was your favorite. Great scene, no doubt.
Yeah. Or right before they go out to battle, the final battle, and he stabs him in the back. Right there. That just got my blood boiling so much. It worked so well.
Yeah.
It's another great part.
Yeah.
There's another scene where Maximus is out in the Colosseum fighting with some of the other slaves, and they win, and it's obvious that none of them expected to win. Yeah. And they come back into kind of the cell, and there's a scene where all the slaves are lined up on the right and left.
Yeah.
And Maximus is walking in right down the center, and the scene captures so much respect for him from these slaves.
Yeah.
And he's walking in, and the camera's kind of tilted up towards him to give him the essence of power. And I just love it. Again, it's so subtle, but you're right. There's a lot of really cool scenes here like that, Chase, that are just really subtle.
Yes.
Also, such a quotable movie. There are so many parts from this movie that are just so quotable.
My name is Maximus Decimus Meridius, commander of the armies of the North, general of the Felix legions, and loyal servant to the true emperor, Marcus Aurelius, father of a murdered son, husband to a murdered wife, and I will have my vengeance in this life or the next.
Yeah, I hear that one all the time.
Yeah, I have that memorized.
Yeah, I can tell. Yeah. Yeah, man. Yeah.
Anything else you guys want to add about this movie?
No, man. I was, like I said, I hadn't seen it in a long time. I was afraid when I was going to go back and watch it, it was going to have that stink of like early 90s, late 90s, early 2000s kind of have that dated feel. But man, if I didn't know any of the actors in this movie, hadn't seen them anywhere else before, I wouldn't have necessarily thought it was made 20 some years ago. So, man, I had a great time going back to watch it, and I'm glad we're talking about it.
Let me ask you guys this. Is this Russell Crowe's best movie?
Ooh.
So he's done A Beautiful Mind, Cinderella Man, 3:10 to Yuma,
sure,
The Insider, Nice Guys, American Sniper, State of Play.
Yeah. L.A. Confidential.
L.A. Confidential, The Next 3 Days.
I gotta say no.
What would you say is his best film, Chase?
3:10 to Yuma.
Oh,
dude, I was just going to say that. I was just going to say that. Yeah, man, he's
3:10 to Yuma is one of my favorite.
Hell yeah, man, I'm so glad you said that. Man,
such an underrated movie.
It is.
Well, there is one person that would disagree with you guys.
Oh.
And that is Russell Crowe himself.
Oh.
Russell Crowe says that this is his best movie and that Maximus is his best character.
Huh. Wow. Interesting. Okay.
Whether or not this is Russell Crowe's best film, it's the first film I think of when you mention Russell Crowe. I mean, Russell Crowe owns this movie.
I didn't even think of 3:10 to Yuma. It wasn't until you listed it that I was like, oh. Gosh, that's an amazing movie.
And he's great in it too.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is.
But he's not Gladiator great.
No.
In 3:10 to Yuma.
No. True.
I would argue this is his best.
The movie is great.
All right, guys, let's rate this film.
It's a fun movie. You can turn it on with the family, although it's a little bit gory. I think you can turn this on for basically anybody and they're going to have a good time.
The extended version is more gory than the theatrical, by the way.
Pretty gory, but it's great. It's probably sitting around four stars for this one.
Yeah, man. 4 stars it is for me as well. Great characters, standout performance by Russell Crowe. I think this really kind of put him on the map. He was known before that, but this really kind of solidified his star status. Great score, really kind of cool world building and settings. Great costumes. We don't always tend to talk about that too much. Great sound design. And a very well-paced movie for 2 hours and 35 minutes. It's a solid 4, creeping towards a 5, but I'm gonna keep it a 4.
Guys, I'm going to take the leap. I'm going to give this 5 stars.
Okay.
I think this film is huge cinema.
It is.
It's a fantastic story. It's simple, yes, but it's a fantastic story. Yeah. Extremely well acted by everyone involved. The production is huge. I struggle to find a fault in this film. Okay, if I'm going to rate it 4, what would it need to be a 5? And I can't answer that question. I can't find anything about it that really holds it back. I'm going to stick with 5 star. I think this is an absolute fantastic movie. Love watching it.
It's a good argument.
Yep.
All right, everybody. Do you enjoy watching burly men swing swords at each other? We've all seen Braveheart, so I'm going to recommend something you might have missed, and that is 2022's The Northman. This film was directed by Robert Eggers, who hasn't made a stinker yet, and is a master of depicting historical settings. It tells the tale of a Viking on a quest to avenge his murdered family. It's rich in mythology and has a stellar cast. Definitely check this one out.
Thank you for listening to Faster Film Critic, and please join us next week when we discuss Heretic, a psychological thriller directed by Scott Beck and Brian Woods. You can also follow us on Letterboxd, Cinetrack, and Instagram. Email us at fasterfilmcritic@gmail.com. Hit us up if you have any questions, comments, feedback, or review requests, and don't forget to share this episode with your movie-loving friends.